Yo guys, what is up? Scammer Revolts here, bringing you guys a type of video I have not done in a little bit now. So if you guys have been watching the live streams, on Friday's stream I promised you guys with an updated video on creating a virtual machine for scam baiting pretty much. This is basically the same guide as creating a regular virtual machine if you go to any other video on YouTube, except I'm going to go through, and after we get on the VM, I'm just going to show you guys a couple tips and stuff to get the VM populated, and then ways you can fill up like your search history and stuff like that. Very simple ways to do this. So welcome to the tutorial. Obviously, I hope this helps you guys out. I hope everyone gets this done. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. And also, every single link or anything like that will be linked below for whatever software you need in the video. So if you're looking for links, check the description below. So what we're going to need for this video is we're going to need VMware and Windows 10. And yes, we're going to be doing this on Windows 10 because I don't know, it's the best version. Windows 11 is a little more complicated with all the new Microsoft stuff and everything. So we're going to go with Windows 10. It's a lot easier to disable things like Windows Defender and all that stuff. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to need to get VMware Workstation. So VMware Workstation is the actual software that lets you go and create these VMs. So this is, of course, going to be linked in the description. You're going to go here. It's going to be this link, vmware.com/products/workstationpro.html. It's going to start you up here. Scroll down a little bit, and you're going to go to download trial. Going to open up a new page, and it's going to say VMware Workstation Pro 16 or 16 Pro. And if you're on Linux, download it there. And then if you're on Windows, which I'm guessing most of you guys are going to be on, you're going to download it here. So you're going to go download now, and that's going to start a download. It's going to start a download for VMware Workstation. You're going to go ahead and install this software. I already have mine installed. It's a regular installation process. Once you have that downloaded, you're going to install it. And we're not going to open that yet, but if it opens after you install it, that's fine. You can minimize it. But there is another link, and this is going to be in the description as well. This is a Windows 10 Enterprise ISO from 2019 in August. Now, the reason we're downloading such an old ISO is because in this version of Windows, you could still create a local account very easily. And you don't exactly want a Microsoft account on your computer where you're having scammers connect. You don't want them to have your real information, obviously, right? So you're going to go here. It's going to be this link. This is going to be linked in the description below too. Windows 10 Enterprise August 2019 ISO. Going to scroll all the way down here. You're going to see a button that says download 64-bit x64 v2021. Going to click that. It's going to open up a new page that says your requested resource is on the way. Now this might take a minute, but the download will start, and basically there it goes. It's going to take a little bit. It's a pretty big file, 3.6 gigs. So you're going to want to let that download, but yeah. So once you have all that downloaded, you have VMware installed, you have the Get Into PC ISO downloaded. What I want you to do is keep them in a spot that they're together. So right here I have the VMware icon, and then I got my ISO file. Now what I like to do is I like to create a folder for my ISO files, because if you're doing scam baiting, you're doing virtual machines, you might want to have multiple virtual machines, which means multiple ISO files to install different VMs from, maybe a Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, Windows 11, maybe even all the way back to Windows XP. So I'm going to create a folder here, and I'm just going to call it ISO files. And I'm going to put my ISO file in there. And then what I'm going to do is open up VMware Workstation. So this might take a little bit depending on what computer you're on, what your specs are. Going to full screen that. Now, the first thing you're going to see here is this big box here, Home. Right here it says Workstation Pro. You got create a virtual machine, open a virtual machine, connect to a remote server. So what we're going to want to do is create a virtual machine. Click on that. It's going to bring you to the welcome to the new virtual machine wizard. We're going to want to go with custom. It's probably going to be selected on typical, but we're going to want to go on custom because we're going to want to go through every single setting and change it to how we want for our virtual machine. So we're going to click next on that. This part, leave this all default how it is for hardware compatibility. Go next. This, you want to make sure it's selected on I will install the operating system later. It might be selected on installer disk or something, or installer disk image at first, but you want to have it selected on I will install an operating system later. Click next. For the operating system, obviously we're using Windows 10, so make sure Microsoft Windows is selected, and then Windows 10 and later x64, which basically means the 64-bit of Windows. We're going to go next on that. So now here it's going to say name the virtual machine. Now this, you can name whatever you want. It's going to say virtual machine name. It's probably going to have some random name right there, but I'm going to call it VM, which is basically just, it's the tutorial VM. For the location, I'm going to just leave it default. You can choose the location. If you have a second hard drive, I recommend putting it on the second hard drive, because then when Windows is working and the VM is working, it doesn't have to compete over resources on that hard drive. But if you have an SSD, you should be fine having them both on the same drive. We're going to go next. For BIOS, we're going to do BIOS, or I mean for firmware type, we're going to do BIOS, not UEFI, because we don't need to deal with all that. For processors, now this is where your specs are going to come into play here. So what you're going to want to do on whatever version you want to do, I want you to open up Task Manager, and you can do that by just pressing the Windows button and searching Task Manager, and it'll come up. So this is what I'm working with right now. Obviously, this is what I use because I run multiple virtual machines while calling scammers, doing live streams, and all that stuff. But what you're going to want to look at is what do you have to work with. You're going to want to look at your memory, and you're going to want to look at your CPU. For the CPU, say you have 4 cores, use 2 cores for your virtual machine. But if you have 12 cores, you don't necessarily have to use 6 for your virtual machine. You could just use 4. It doesn't scale up like that. Like my machine, I have 32 cores and 64 threads on this machine, but I would not use half of those cores on a VM because it's just unnecessary. All my VMs use 6 cores, and I recommend that to be really the max. Number one, because you don't want to spook scammers by having an amazing system and them thinking something's up. And number 2, you just don't need it. For what you're doing, you're calling scammers, having them connect to your VM. You don't need all that power dedicated to the VM. And the same goes with RAM. I'd cap the RAM out at about 16 gigs. That's what I run for all my virtual machines. 16 gigabytes of RAM. Cap that out there. And obviously, it's the same with this. If you have 4 gigs of RAM, maybe use 2 or 1.5 gigs of RAM on the VM. If you have 8 gig of RAM, use 4 on the VM. And then if you have 16 gigs of RAM, use 6 on the VM, because it doesn't scale up directly like that. It doesn't need to. It's just useless. The more resources you have, the less you have to dedicate to the VM out of those total resources. So that's what I'm working with here. So what I'm going to do, number of processors, you want to keep that at 1, but number of cores is what you want to change. So for cores, I'm going to put 6. So if you have a 4-core processor, put 2, but leave number of processors at 1. So we're going to go next, and then boom, here's the memory. And like I said, I'm going to put 16. If you want, you don't want to use the slider, you could just change the first 2 digits here, 16 like that, and it'll move the whole thing with it. And then we're going to go next. And for network type, keep this at what it's at by default, NAT, NAT. For the controller types, keep this as SAS, Logic SAS, whatever the default is. NVMe, keep this as the default too for the disk type. Create a new virtual disk. Yes, you're going to want to use this. Don't use these options. You're going to want to use create a new virtual disk. And then here, the disk capacity. Now, this is based off whatever space you have on your hard drive. I'm going to do 60 here. I'm going to leave it as default just for the tutorial. But yeah, like I said, there's not going to be too much on the VM, so you don't need to go huge with this. You can leave it 60 on the default if you're not downloading an enormous amount of files onto the VM. And then under here, you're going to want to have it on split disk into multiple files. You don't want to do allocate all disk space now, because that's going to take a while. It's literally going to do what it says. It's going to allocate all the disk space now. And you don't want to keep it in a single file too, because it's faster. It works better if you split it into multiple disk files. It works better if you move onto a new machine and all that and copy in the VM. So we're going to go next, and then the disk file, I'm going to leave that default, but obviously if you chose another disk, go to browse, choose that disk location where you want to store that, where you stored the previous file. So go next, and now it's just going to confirm us, go over everything with us, and tell us basically give us the opportunity to look and see if it's right. Click finish, and now it's going to create the VM. So now we have a VM here, but obviously there's nothing installed on it. This is basically like if you got a computer with no hard drive in it, or a hard drive with nothing on it, basically. So if you just got a totally wiped brand new computer. So what we're going to want to do here is go to Edit Virtual Machine Settings, click on that. This is going to bring up those options that we were setting before. You can see the hard disk space, the processor. So you can change all this after you've already created the VM. But what we're going to want to do is go to CD/DVD SATA, use ISO image file, and we're going to browse for that image file. So for me, it's going to be on my desktop. Scroll down here. Some of this stuff might be blurred out for y'all, but it's definitely there for me. Okay, yeah. So here, my ISO files folder that I made. Click on the ISO file, click open, or just double click it. And now you can see here it has the file path to the ISO file. I'm going to click OK. And now that's done. So now you can literally just click power on this virtual machine. It's going to start up. This is going to come up down here saying, are you finished installing? You could just close this. It doesn't matter. Just click the X on that. And then, yeah, basically now what's happening is it's like a regular computer if you were installing Windows. So it's gonna load up the ISO file here to the actual Windows installer. So as you can see here, we got the Windows 10 installer here. Choose your language, all this. This is whatever you want to set it here. This is how your VM. Install now. It's going to start the setup. Give it a second here. Let it load. Okay, now when this part comes up, choose STD, not DLA, for the license. For the licensing. Choose STD for the license, and then go next. And then accept the terms. Custom. Select your drive. Next. And now that's going to copy files, and it's basically going to do a regular Windows 10 install, like if you were on a regular computer. So we're going to let that install, and I'll get back to y'all when that's done. Alright, so now the computer is restarting, or the virtual machine is restarting here. It's going to start up. And as you can see here, VMware popped up this tool down here. Now your mouse may be grabbed onto the virtual machine. If you want to ungrab your mouse, I'm moving my mouse right now, but it's not going off the virtual machine. Press the Control key and the Alt key at the same time. And then you see my mouse pops up like that. Don't click on this just yet. Let the VM start up. We're going to create a user account and all of that. But yeah, so it's going to get everything ready like if it's a regular computer and get all of that going. Okay, there we go. Now it's going to bring us through the setup. So you're just going to do the normal Windows 10 setup. I'm going to go through this. Just select everything how you would set it up normally. It's going to do, the regular Windows 10 setup. So I'm going to skip to when it actually creates a user account. Okay, now we're on the sign in with Microsoft screen. You're not going to want to do this. Obviously, don't want to do your actual Microsoft account with this, or even a fake one, because it just complicates things. So we're going to go down here to the left corner, and we're going to click Domain Join Instead. And now it's basically a local account. So you can just go and set up your PC, VM, put whatever name you want, password. I'm going to just put 1234, 234. And then these security questions, I just put random text, Just put random text and click enter. It doesn't matter. It's a virtual machine, you don't. These are quite useless. Even on an actual computer, I don't really see the need for them. But yeah, now you just go through the regular Microsoft setup stuff. So I will see you guys when we land on the desktop page. Okay, and here we are. We are now on the desktop of the VM. So now what we're going to do is down here, this box where it's asking us to install tools. We're going to click on Install Tools here. And then we can click the X on that. And what this is going to do is it's going to bring up the installer for the VMware tools, which basically are drivers to help interact with it here. So I'm not going to click on it this way because just in case that doesn't pop up, you go up here, click Documents, and you're going to see DVD Drive VMware Tools. Click that, and we're going to do Setup 64. Click Yes. It's going to prepare for installation. So now you can see it says, welcome to the installation wizard. Just going to go next, do complete, and then install that. And that's going to install all the drivers and stuff so we can get a proper resolution going on this VM, get 3D graphics and all that stuff working good so we can actually have a nice, good, smooth VM for the scammers to connect to. As you can see there, it just resized itself. Yeah, so now we can click finish on that. And now it's going to ask you to restart. So click yes on that. Okay, so now the VM is started back up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Log in there. Now, with this VM, I believe it only comes with Internet Explorer. Yeah, it only comes with Internet Explorer. So now that the drivers are installed, you can actually drag stuff from your desktop. So what I have on my desktop is a Chrome setup exe. So what I'm going to do is just literally drag that down. And you see my mouse gets that little icon under it. Let go, and it's going to transfer this file over to your VM. And this is how we're going to install Google Chrome so we can get all our other programs starting to download and install. So just go through the regular Google Chrome setup, and yeah, there we go. Alright, now we have Google Chrome installed. What we're going to search for is Nyanite, or Nyanite, however you say it, Nyanite. It's going to be also be in the linked in the description below. Nyanite. Go here, and basically we're going to select. This is how we're going to get a bunch of stuff installed. So we already have Chrome, so don't select that. But Opera, Edge. Usually I don't like to select the security programs, and I'll tell you guys why I do that in a minute here. But download all these other programs here, not the developer tools. So get web browsers, messaging, online storage, get all the media tools. So just go through and basically select all of these tools. The runtimes, I would select too. Get all the runtimes, not utilities. Compression, select all of those. Imaging, select every single one of those. Others, select all of those. And file sharing. So we want other, file sharing, imaging, compression, runtimes, media, messaging, online storage, and web browsers, except for Chrome. So after you have all those selected, just scroll down, select get your Nyanite, and then it's going to download this here. And basically, this is going to automatically download and install all of those programs. Click yes on it. It's going to prepare setup, and now you can see it's going through and downloading everything, as you can see here. Actually, NVDA is not one of the programs. Yep, that's why. Okay, yeah. Make sure you don't select NVDA when you're choosing from that list of software. That one is very annoying. So yeah, basically it's going to go through and it's going to automatically install all these programs. This might take a while depending on your internet speed and obviously your computer speed, because your computer speed is even less when it's being virtualized on a virtual machine. But while that's happening, what I like to do is I like to go to youtube.com. And their shorts feature has something really nice. Every time you click on a short, so if we click on a short here, mute the audio, and when you scroll, it creates a new URL every single time that you scroll. And basically just scrolling through this, what this does, it just creates a crap load of internet history as if you were just sitting here watching shorts. So if we go here, and we go to our history, for our browsing history, you can already see there's a ton of shorts here. So that's what I like to do while Nyanite is downloading. I like to go through and basically just scroll through this. So that's what I'm going to do right now, and that's what I recommend you guys do, is let this install everything. It's going to go through. Some of it might not go because it's not compatible or whatnot, but let this go through, let it install everything. And just do a little bit of scrolling on the YouTube Shorts page. And let that fill up your internet history. Okay, now we have everything installed here. If you look at the time, it's a little bit later. It did not take that long for me to install everything. It only took about 30 minutes, which is actually still quite a long time, but some stuff came up. So continuing the tutorial here. So now that all that's installed and stuff, I went on YouTube and I did just a little bit of scrolling on the shorts tab. So if we go here and we go to history, you can see here it's just a bunch of YouTube videos, and basically I just do this to fill up the history just so it looks like there's a bunch of stuff. If you can eventually get this like super drawn down, then it makes the VM look a lot realer. So what we're going to want to do now before we do anything else is I want to disable Windows Defender. Now you might be asking why? Because one of the main things scammers like to do is go and look at Windows Defender and all that stuff, and if you have it disabled and everything, it's just going to give them a reason to keep going with their stupid scam, with all their nonsense, basically. And then it also, if you guys know what I mean, it gives you some options, you know, for maybe if you want to destroy your VM with a virus or something, or some other stuff, so you don't have to deal with Windows Defender. So to do that, it's super easy. You're just going to press the Windows key and type task, and you're going to go to Task Scheduler. Open that up. It's going to take a second here. Make that full screen. Widen this margin right here. Click on Task Scheduler Library, Microsoft, Windows, and then we're going to scroll down here and find Windows Defender. And once you find that, we're going to find that Windows Defender down here. Click here, hold Shift, and then click the bottom one to highlight everything. Right click and disable. And this basically disables all the task schedulers that are dedicated to Windows Defender. So now that's all disabled. Close that, and then we're going to go here and we're going to type GP edit group policy. Click on that. Again, make this full screen. Widen this margin here if I could click on it. Administrative templates, Windows components, and we're going to go down here to Windows Defender Antivirus. Click on that, and then turn off Windows Defender Antivirus. Double click this, and you're going to want to enable this. And as it says turn off Windows Defender Antivirus. So we're enabling it. So that means it turns off Windows Defender Antivirus. Make sure you click apply on that, then click OK. So now we have that. What I like to do now is basically go get a wallpaper for it and all that, and you're pretty much set up on the VM. I'm also going to have a video included in the description from Stop Phone Scammers. So I'll have this video linked in the description below. This is how to make a VMware Virtual Machine match host system. Info by Stop Phone Scammers. You can see here. I'll have this video linked below. Super helpful video even today. You can see from 3 years ago. This video still helps me today. And he basically goes over the whole process on making your virtual machine match your host system info, and basically hides everything that makes the virtual machine look like a virtual machine. And after you do that, you're honestly pretty much done. Anything else you want to add, you just go here. I'm going to show you guys. You go here, go to full screen. You're going to have to restart it for that Windows Defender to be totally disabled, but everything is pretty much set up. It looks like a working computer, and that's all you really need on the front surface. Is you just need a virtual machine that looks like a computer that's used. I'd recommend, like I said, changing the wallpaper, maybe moving the apps around. Spend a little bit of time customizing it and messing with it. Like I said, this is just a very simple tutorial on getting a VM going and basically getting the bare basics for having it ready for scam baiting. It's a very simple and short video that just goes over all the basics just to help you guys get up and running. And then obviously if there's any other info you guys any other info, and obviously if there's any other info that you guys are looking for as for getting started with scam baiting and stuff, of course, most of you probably know I have a scam baiting guide on TSU. I advertise it a lot. It also has another VMware tutorial on there for Windows 7, and it also has a VirtualBox tutorial, which both of those, they're basically the same thing that I'm showing now. I'm just making this video to get it out to people who don't know about those videos and want a newer video with Windows 10, just so they can better understand it, because they're using the same things, the same files and everything that I'm using. But on this guide, it has, you know, calling scammers, creating a virtual machine like we did in this video, getting a VPN, creating false information to fill up with the virtual machine, talking fake address, fake person, fake social security numbers, temporary email addresses, all that stuff, and then ways to actually find scammer numbers and stuff. So this will also be linked in the description below. But yeah, it's a very short and just to the point video of, hey, this is how you do it. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. Like I said, I said this multiple times, though. It's a very simple video. It's a very simple process to get this started and going. But yeah, if you guys like this video, please give it a like. If you want more videos like this, that's what this channel is for. If you guys want, you know, maybe information on a topic relating to scammers, or, you know, really anything like that, leave suggestions in the comments. I'm totally down to do videos like that, just informational videos and stuff, other than just stream highlights on this channel, because that's what this channel is for. So if you guys like the video, please give it a like. Please share it to anyone you think that wants to get into scam baiting and needs to know how to make a virtual machine. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much the end of the video. I hope you guys are successful with your virtual machines and successful with your scam baits. But yeah, thank you for the freaking crazy support and all the love you guys have been showing me recently, especially on the Twitch streams. It's been super cool. I really appreciate the support from you guys. But other than that, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.